Good morning, Emperor Eagles. Happy Friday. Happy Camellia Parade weekend. I know there are so many of you that are so excited to go to the Camellia Parade, to the Camellia Festival, to get some cotton candy and popcorn. It is a long-standing tradition of Temple City to have the Camellia Parade. When I was little, I marched as a Girl Scout. So this is a very important weekend for Temple City. We have the Queen as an Emperor Eagle and a banner carrier. So I'm so excited to see you both in the parade. Please come and join us around 9:30 in the morning in the Teapot area and look for us. We'll be a large group of Emperor students and families. You can wear any Emperor shirt or your black Emperor shirt, and I cannot wait to march with all of you in the parade tomorrow morning. This is also Black History Month, and so we wanted to read a book. I wanted to read a book to you, and I asked Mr. Rodriguez for a recommendation, and he has a bunch of brand new books in the library and a great collection for Black History Month. And so please take some time to go in there and read a book that maybe you wouldn't have read before, maybe read about someone that you don't know about. And I challenge you to do that and come share with me what you have learned and what you've read. So Mr. Rodriguez suggested this book. It's called Ode to Grapefruit, How James Earl Jones Found His Voice by Kari Lavelle. Please skip my turn, Mrs. Gardner. Not me, please. But it was his turn to read. James stood up reluctantly. He knew those words on the page. Silence surrounded him, all eyes watching and waiting. He remembered the last time he read aloud. Face burning, heart racing, kids laughing, mouth trying, voice blocking. James thumped back down in his seat. Why do my words get stuck when I need them the most? I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but it sounds frightening. James escaped his special place, the wall behind the hay barn. Back at his home, his words flowed. The grunting hogs listened to his ideas. The clucking chickens listened too. Hey, Fanny, her ears perked up. She loved his voice. James grew, his stuttering stayed. This is James Earl, Papa said when a visitor arrived. James opened his mouth, his jaw tensed, his throat tightened, his voice trapped. No sound. James, say hello, Mama urged. I'm trying. He pounded his feet. He gritted his teeth to force the words out, but it didn't work, so he just nodded. James was done talking. He would stay silent. No more asking questions, no more sharing ideas. His emotions stuck inside. If he didn't talk, he wouldn't stutter. So James listened. He listened to all the news. He listened to his Aunt Williva's songs and Uncle HB's fingers striking the piano keys. He listened to Mama's words and planting seeds of stories for his dreams. At school, James listened and James learned. He wrote answers for his teacher and he nodded to his friends. Off to high school, new building and new teachers like Professor Crouch, who loved poetry. His teacher recited poems aloud. James loved listening to the rhythm of the words, and Professor Crouch wanted the students to memorize poems. If you love poetry, you've got to be able to say it out loud. That's what poetry is. Say it out loud. No way. But when he was alone, James found his voice reciting the irresistible patterns of poetry. By the shores of Gitchigumi, by the shining big sea water, poetry presented a new way for James to express himself. He penned his own poems in secret. That winter, a shipment of grapefruit arrived. Peeling the rind, he revealed the treasure inside. Inhaling the delicious citrus aroma, biting into the juicy fruit, the pattern of Longfellow's Song of Hiawatha in his head. Ta-ta, 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 the catchy cadence inspired James to write. He traveled to the front of the... Oops, sorry. James gave his poem to Professor Crouch. This is a fine poem. Did you copy it? James shook his head. No. The best way for you to demonstrate that you wrote the poem yourself is for you to say it out loud to the class. James stood up for himself. He traveled to the front of the classroom, the dark side of fear rising, heart pounding, 18 sets of eyes, and Professor Crouch watching. Some kids smirked and some smiled, knees shaking. But he felt the rhythm in his soul. Ta-ta, 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 ta-ta. James opened his mouth and began, in his voice deep and smooth, reciting from his heart, Ode to Grapefruit. The entire poem presented without pause or repetition, his resonant voice heard, and for the first time at school, the students cascaded into applause. In poetry and literature, James found his voice. He performed the Chaucer for others. If gold rusts, what then can iron do? He read Shakespeare to the animals, not marble, nor gilded monuments of princes shall outlive this powerful rhyme. He recited Edgar Allan Poe on stage. Once upon a midnight dreary, James stuttered at times, but he knew his voice was important and perfectly perfect. James debated and acted, won public speaking championship, and earned a college scholarship. Now people listen to his questions, his ideas, to his emotions, to him. This is an amazing book for a million reasons. We have students all around us and people all around us who maybe are a little bit shy, maybe don't use their voice as regularly as others to communicate. But what is interesting about this book is if you know James Earl Jones, you actually, all of you do know him. You know his voice, and that is what he is most famous for. And that is what this story is about, is that in the beginning, he was so nervous. But when he was an adult, he used his voice to become famous. So some things that are struggles in the beginning may be blessings in the end. You just don't know where they're going to end up. So I challenge you all to figure out, where do you know his voice from? Because you do. You know James Earl Jones and you know his voice. And when you hear it, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, that's crazy that he did not speak at first. And so sometimes we have to be patient and we have to kind of let the hard things happen so that the good things will happen too. I hope you all have an amazing Camellia Parade weekend and festival. I hope you enjoy yourself and be safe. And I hope you always know that you are loved. I love you.